Alright, hey guys, I'm making this to illustrate some bosses that you could utilize for World Boss Legend. I'm just going to be 100% straight honest and blunt. I practically run the same squads for every boss. Sometimes when I get bored, I like to switch it up to give it some sort of variety. But genuinely, I run the same bosses. So, like, who's an example? Okay, Gore. Let's do one without restrictions. So, if I wanted a team without restrictions, I would run, Rogue if you had her seasonal, Polaris, and Storm if you had her seasonal. But I know people don't have, seasonals for these characters. So an alternative could be Jean and Satana as lead, but another seasonal character. So you could have like Polaris and Enchantress. This has some free to play value, especially if you get Enchantress exclusively for free or through Dimension Mission Rift bios. Same as well with Enchantress if you're like a new player and you get like a free exclusive hero chest. Yeah, this is highly viable. But if you don't have Polaris, then I guess the alternative could be, let us see, like this. You could probably run something like this. Hela is a great alternative too. Or Star-Lord. I have his old uni, but I'm sure the new uni, like, most likely is viable with it too. Or you can run Anti-Man. If you don't have Enchantress, then you could just run something like this, but she's also exclusive character, but you guys get the gist. Or you could run something like that. For males, I would run like Human Torch. Maybe like a Storm, because even with other seasonal, she provides elemental damage, and like a She-Hulk or like a Cyclops. But I'm going to illustrate to you guys who I would run, regardless if you do have the seasonals or not. But if you do, then I guess it gives you some sort of template. That's one team, and this is also viable too. But I guess I'll try to illustrate some or form some teams that you could possibly use for World Boss Legends. So yeah. Okay, so I have culminated groups. So as mentioned, I got this mutant team, which is all female and all blessed. But if you wanted to substitute Psylocke, you could add someone like Jean, still functions. You could add Rogue, still functions. You could add Storm too, who could be your dealer, since she's also a tier 4 and still usable. You could add someone like Gambit. Gambit still works. You could add someone like Mystique. Madeline works. Magic too. Deadpool, you could interchange with Polaris, depending if you have his synergy uniform, which does boss type damage, and you wouldn't need to use Dazzler here, but that's just a hypothetical. You could run Wolverine, or you can run Apocalypse. You run Cable, and you could run like Weapon Hex, Hope. So this is just somewhat of illustrating like mutant characters that you can use if you had these sort of lead and support. Okay, now the second team is all female again, which this might be a noticed trend, but I have Scarlet Witch, Valkyrie, and Sif. So this is one team that you can utilize, or you could use Captain Marvel. Maybe you could use Beta Ray Bill, Human Torch, possibly if you want. But if it's really too much of an issue, you could probably run something like this too. This is all free-to-play characters, and Human Torch does really pack a punch, especially at higher levels, even at level like 80-ish. I have him at 74, and he still does really well for me. Let's see who else you could run. Because Sif, the good thing about Sif is that she's really viable for any character because she applies this to all allies, and it's 45% boss type damage. So yeah, that's really valuable. So you could probably run something like Hela and substitute for Wanda. The second team is somewhat all just sort of seasonals, except for Captain Marvel. But let's say you didn't have these. This is still a good option, but you could probably swap out this Ronin, and this is still highly viable. Let's see who else. You could probably swap in someone like Mantis and then Ronin. Still works, free to play. And if not, you could probably run someone like Hela, Ronin, Mantis, or Shuri. And this is another team right here that you could run with. You got Jean, Satana, and Sin. But as mentioned previously, if you don't have these characters, then they're not really much of use. So you could probably swap them out for these characters. And yeah, same thing. Like this works too. This works too. And he's gonna get a new uniform, so it's gonna be really great. And it turns out he's not really male, so I wonder if they'll switch that for him. But yeah, this is just really any team that you could possibly think of. It's really great that there's a lot of characterization and a lot of options that even free to play players get. So it's not too much of, newer players are let in the dark, because this team in and of itself is still viable, and it still really does pack a punch. And someone like Star-Lord, you probably have. If you have like a, if you have like a Cyclops will still work, Sif, Shuri still works. Yeah. Now I know the idea that many be like, oh well, I don't have these characters, I'm a free to play, I'm still not, I don't have access to all these higher level characters, and these characters that sort of aren't accessible to me at the moment. So if I just started the game and I want to do some characters rotations with what I have, and if you don't have any exclusives, fear no longer. I'm going to try to set a culmination of teams that I think you would still be able to manage to do for World Boss Legends. Even if you can only clear like maybe less than 5, you'll still be fine. Okay, so here are some teams that I think are still viable for free-to-play characters and have some access to. So yeah, let's get into it. This is the first team, and I am not particularly fond of it because you technically don't have any sort of other support except for that lead. The only thing that America Chavez provides is this reflect damage and 40% increase of HP. Maybe if you had Iron Man, I'm sure this would make it way much better. And you could have done something like this, which is still fine. Yeah, this is still viable, still works. Second team, I have this All Guardians team. I don't have the latest Star-Lord uni and never bothered to get it. But you could most definitely utilize this team with the new Star-Lord uni, Rocket, and Mantis too. Still works. The only difference is that Mantis won't give you that increased basic damage. You would only take a damage reduction. And Rocket isn't really too much of a good support, I'm not gonna lie, but I mean, it's there if you need it. Now this other team is really viable too. So you have Human Torch, you got Cyclops, and you have Taskmaster. Applies to all allies. And especially if they have a Weapons Master ability, still works. You can swap out someone with Human Torch who does that. You got Cyclops, and you got him giving you 40% of energy attack. This other team is also valuable. You got Wasp as the leader, and she gives you that, sort of 20% increase of HP, so works well. You got Sif, boss type damage, and you got Gwen, your dealer, with the Pierce 2. This other team, as previously illustrated, you got Captain Marvel, Shuri, and Ronin. Swap this out, and it still works and it still functions. So yeah, these are the teams that I would usually run if I were a free-to-play player. But as illustrated, I have most of the universals, seasonals, and I have access to a lot of more variations. So yeah, I hope this video was a little bit of informative. I know I kind of like yapped and sped through it, but yeah. Have a good one.